You thought they were out, but the Miami Hurricanes are still in the race for five-star offensive tackle Mark Matthews.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's not over. As Hurricanes football GM Dennis Smith loves to say, it's a marathon. Although we thought this one was at sprint level, but it's not over yet. I am Alex Donno, and on this special episode of Locked On Canes, we have a notable update in the recruitment and the timeline for five-star offensive tackle Mark Matthews. Now, this, we've said it all cycle long when we're talking class of 2027. This one has felt like a must-get for Miami because not only is Miami going to swing at the top offensive tackle in every class, given their proven offensive line development. Of course, the Hurricanes landed the biggest fish, Jackson Cantwell, in the previous cycle of 2026. Of course, they're going to take a swing at Mark Matthews. But in the case of Matthews, he's also local. St. Thomas Aquinas, you don't want to let this young man leave the area. But of course, it's ultimately his decision. And up until today or yesterday, we all believed that Matthews' decision was not only leaning towards the Texas A&M Aggies, but that his recruitment was about to come to a close. And that's why the update today is so significant for the Hurricanes. I want to emphasize something here. This is not a victory lap. This is just an update because it's not over until the young man commits somewhere, and then it's really not over until National Signing Day in December. But the reason why this update is a positive one today for Miami was, so Matthews, and this was great reporting by a friend of the show, EJ Holland, at Rivals at canesport.com, where EJ, who caught up with Mark Matthews, was told and reported, and he's got quotes from Matthews, that even though we thought Mark was about to make his decision with everything pointing towards Texas A&M being the destination with an announcement coming before summer official visits, Matthews has changed course. He is no longer going to make a decision or an announcement before official visit season. He's going to take his official visits first. And as of the time I'm recording this, the first visit that he has locked in, now there are other visits he will probably make, but the only one that he has firmly scheduled now at this moment is a May 29th visit to the University of Miami. So Miami's visit being lined up early before the other ones are finalized could be a good sign, although we also expect him to visit the rest of his top four of Texas A&M, Georgia, and LSU, but Miami's going to get the first crack. So, okay, folks, the first reason why this is a positive update for Miami is, again, for the past week, we've essentially been on announcement watch for Matthews, that the announcement, his decision, could come at any time, right? Maybe he would announce last week, didn't happen. Maybe he's going to announce on Monday, Tuesday, didn't happen, and it's not happening until his summer official visits. And so this being a good thing for Miami is because had Matthews made his announcement and made his decision within the past week like expected, because he had said he was going to make his announcement before the OVs, had he made that announcement within the past week, it would have almost certainly been Texas A&M. They had been the trending leader. I think on the Aggies front, they thought this is a sure thing. It's just a matter of him making the announcement, making it official, and that day has not come for them, and now maybe it won't come, okay? The other thing is, you track the timeline of the events happening this week. So the Hurricanes, and we know Mario Cristobal, he's relentless on the recruiting trail. Alex Mirabal, relentless on that trail. That's Miami's head coach and offensive line coach, respectively. They made a visit to St. Thomas Aquinas practice on Monday where, you know, they were able to watch Matthews and I'm sure get some FaceTime with him. They also, within the past week, I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday, had an in-home visit with Matthews and his family. So Miami has not taken their foot off the gas, despite A&M having a lot of momentum for a long time, okay? So him postponing his announcement and essentially kind of resetting his recruitment seems to come on the heels of recent conversations and visits with Miami. That's a good thing on the Hurricanes front. Now, the other part of it is anytime you have situations like this, I like to not only check in with what, the Miami folks and reporters are saying, you also like to see what the conversation is, in this case, in College Station. What are the Texas A&M recruiting reporters saying? And there was an update today when all these events started to take place from Cade, I'm not sure how to say his last name, Cade Droffon, I think, who's a staffer on the 24/7 Texas A&M site. And he said about the current situation, and keep in mind, again, the Aggies thought this one is basically done in their favor. Now it's not so fast, my friend. And the update on 24/7 today was, I was told Miami met with Matthews yesterday, that's Monday, and obviously that went well for the Hurricanes, with the report that he will be delaying his decision and taking an official visit to Miami the weekend of May 29th. And again, as of the time I'm recording this, I think that's the only official visit Matthews has officially locked in. There may be others, but Miami is the only one who has locked in. So the update continues. I was also told months ago that Coach Cristobal and the Hurricanes are willing to pony up on the NIL side to do everything they can to land him. And I don't necessarily doubt that that's true. That might be true. But it's kind of funny. Like, if Texas A&M, with that unlimited oil money, if they start now like blaming money on him trending towards Miami, that's a laugher. All right. Like, the funds on that side of things are unlimited. They'll just pump some more oil and offer whoever more money. And listen, for what it's worth, I'm of the understanding that for Matthews, at least at the time we got an update on him about a week ago, that it really wasn't like a money thing for him, that it's about where he wants to go, where he wants to play, and where he gets developed. And that might still be College Station. Like, we were of the understanding throughout the process that he really likes Texas A&M and their coaching staff. I think he also really likes Miami and their coaching staff. And, I don't think it's fair for anyone in either direction to try to paint this being all about money or anything like that. I think, to be the top offensive tackle in the class and the number 3 player in the class, period, he's going to have great NIL offers from, dozens of different schools, and the money's going to be really good wherever he decides to go. So this is what Matthews said to E.J. Holland at Kane Sport. He said, quote, "I'm taking my official visits, and then I'll make the decision," Matthews said. "I thought about making the decision sooner, but I want to take my OVs, look at every campus, and see what every school has to offer. I just talked to my family and my people," he said. So, again, this is a significant positive update for the Miami Hurricanes, that this decision is getting prolonged. And, again, I'll say it what I said a few minutes ago. I'll say it again. There is no guarantee Miami is ultimately the decision for him, because as we've learned throughout the years on the recruiting trail, Miami is capable of landing some really, really big fish. There have obviously been other blue chippers and 5-star players that Miami has missed out on. You're not going to land everybody. And sometimes in big boy recruitment, I mean, we learned this a few years ago from Jeremiah Smith, just as one example, that things are going to be crazy, and it's not always going to trend the way that you're going to like to trend. You're going to like to see it trend, and then sometimes you think you may have something almost locked up, and it goes the other way. And I think, if anything, Texas A&M, they're the ones who are learning that lesson right now, because they thought they had Matthews locked up. And also from the Texas A&M side, they're still in the race. It's not like Matthews committed to Miami or anywhere else today. We've been on the other side of it. I mean, Malachi Toney, who is looking like he's going to be one of the great Canes of all time, just had arguably the best true freshman season of all time. Remember, Malachi Toney was committed to Miami, decommitted from Miami when he reclassified, only to recommit to the Hurricanes again. So sometimes even when you lose momentum, you can still get momentum back. So don't count the Aggies out of this. Just because Matthews is resetting and taking a step back does not mean Texas A&M won't ultimately be the move. But I think Matthews has decided, and it might be a very wise choice. When you have the opportunity to make 4 or more official visits in May and into June, that maybe you should do that. You should allow all the teams on your list to make their best pitch, to make their final pitch, to gather as much information as you can and make the most informed decision possible. And of course, all of us South Floridians are hoping that informed decision leads him to staying home and playing for the Miami Hurricanes. We certainly hope that is the case. And I know Matthews, he even mentioned in that E.J. Holland article, like, when he runs into Miami fans, who are obviously a lot of them in South Florida where he lives, they'll tell him, go to Miami. Like, I think he feels that, that local support. I was going to say peer pressure, but support is probably a better way to put it, that he's one of the best players in the country. The locals want to see him play for Miami. It seems to have worked out pretty well for Mark Fletcher. It worked out really well for Ruben Bain. It's working out well so far for Malachi Toney. I mean, why not Mark Matthews? And, I think that our voices, right, for, the people who speak through our social media channels and our comments here on Locked On Canes, you guys all want Matthews to stay home and play for the U, and we'll see if that ultimately has anything to do with his decision. But again, it's not over. This is not a victory lap. This is just an update, but it's a positive update from Miami, because it looked like Matthews was going to drop to Texas A&M at any day, any hour, any moment. And now that Miami seems to have influenced his decision to take a step back, take his visits, and make a longer decision, that's a good one for the Hurricanes. It's a marathon, and Miami's going to have every opportunity to get this one over the finish line. And even if they don't, we know that there are some other big-time offensive linemen that are on Miami's big board. Olubobola, who we really, really like, the 5-star out of St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City in New Jersey. That's another top player that Miami is after. But obviously Matthews, with the local ties and everything, you could understand why he would be the priority. So we'll keep you guys updated throughout this saga. I mean, it wouldn't be recruiting season without ebbs and flows and updates like these, right? This is fun. Mark Matthews is keeping us all entertained and engaged, and we'll follow this story wherever it takes us. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Locked On Canes, and make sure you subscribe to all the great shows right here on the #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.